The video opens with dramatic footage of both a typhoon and a hurricane, giant swirling storms seen from space. Cut to scenes of people preparing for the storms, boarding up homes, stocking up on supplies, and bracing for impact. The sound of heavy winds and rain fades in as suspenseful music plays. From the relentless winds to the torrential rains, hurricanes and typhoons are among the most powerful and destructive natural forces on the planet. But what exactly is the difference between these two massive storms? Are they distinct phenomena, or simply different names for the same destructive force? Buckle up, because in this video, we're breaking down the science behind these mighty storms, explaining how they form, where they strike, and why we call them different names depending on where they occur. Trust me, it's not as complicated as it sounds. Let's dive into the fascinating world of tropical cyclones. First things first, whether you hear the term hurricane, typhoon, or even cyclone, we're all talking about the same kind of storm. These are all different names for what scientists refer to as tropical cyclones. A tropical cyclone is a rapidly rotating storm system characterized by a low-pressure center, strong winds, and thunderstorms that produce heavy rain. These storms are fueled by warm ocean waters, and they form when the sea surface temperature is at least 26 degrees Celsius or 79 degrees Fahrenheit. Here's the cool part. When warm, moist air rises from the ocean surface, it creates an area of low pressure beneath it. Surrounding air rushes in to fill that void, and as this air rises and cools, it condenses into clouds and releases heat, which powers the storm even more. This cycle continues, and as the storm gathers strength, it begins to rotate due to the Earth's spin. This is what creates the distinctive spiral structure of a cyclone. Now here's where it gets interesting. Tropical cyclones are given different names depending on where they form. If a tropical cyclone forms in the Atlantic Ocean, the Caribbean Sea, or the Eastern Pacific, it's called a hurricane. These are the massive storms that make headlines in the United States, the Caribbean, and Central America. Names like Hurricane Katrina, Harvey, and Maria are etched into history because of the destruction they left behind. Hurricanes thrive on warm waters and can intensify into massive storms as they travel across the ocean. But their reign of terror begins to weaken as they make landfall, or as they move over cooler waters. Still, by the time a hurricane hits land, it can cause catastrophic damage. Flooding, wind destruction, and storm surges are often the deadliest effects. Some of the deadliest hurricanes in history have struck the Atlantic, such as Hurricane Mitch in 1998, which killed over 11,000 people, and Hurricane Maria in 2017, which devastated Puerto Rico. On the other side of the planet, tropical cyclones that form in the northwestern Pacific Ocean are known as typhoons. These are the storms that strike countries like the Philippines, Japan, Taiwan, China, and Vietnam. The Western Pacific is notorious for producing some of the strongest and deadliest typhoons in history, like Super Typhoon Haiyan in 2013, which claimed over 6,000 lives in the Philippines and left millions homeless. Typhoons, just like hurricanes, rely on warm ocean waters to grow stronger. The Western Pacific is particularly warm, making it a breeding ground for intense storms. In fact, the Pacific Ocean sees more tropical cyclones each year than any other region, with an average of 25 to 30 typhoons forming annually. These storms can be especially destructive because they often travel through densely populated areas, like the coastal cities of the Philippines and southern China. What's fascinating is that typhoons tend to be more frequent and intense than hurricanes, because the Western Pacific has warm waters year-round, providing continuous fuel for these storms. Wait, there's more. In the Indian Ocean and the South Pacific, these storms are simply called cyclones. In regions like India, Bangladesh, and Madagascar, cyclones have caused some of the deadliest natural disasters in history. One of the worst was the 1970 Bola cyclone, which struck East Pakistan, modern-day Bangladesh, and killed over 300,000 people. Like hurricanes and typhoons, cyclones form over warm ocean waters and are powered by heat. Cyclones in the Indian Ocean, especially in places like Bangladesh, can be deadly due to storm surges and the low-lying geography of the region, making it highly vulnerable to flooding. While they're called different names depending on the region, all of these storms share the same basic structure and behavior, but there's more to the story. Okay, so by now you're probably wondering, why do we call these storms different names if they're essentially the same thing? The answer is actually pretty simple. It's all about geography. The term we use depends entirely on where the storm forms. In the Atlantic and Eastern Pacific, they're called hurricanes. In the Western Pacific, we use the term typhoon. And in the Indian Ocean and Southern Pacific, they're called cyclones. Think of it this way. It's like how we call football soccer in some countries and football in others. Same game, just a different name. Regardless of what we call them, tropical cyclones are among the deadliest and most destructive natural forces on Earth. They unleash their fury in several ways: strong winds, heavy rainfall, and storm surges that can flood entire communities in a matter of hours. The eye of the storm is actually the calmest part, but don't be fooled. Surrounding the eye is the eye wall, where the storm's most intense winds and rain occur. As the storm spins, it pulls in moisture from the surrounding ocean, which fuels its strength. Storm surges, often the deadliest part of these storms, are caused when powerful winds push ocean water onto the shore. These surges can reach heights of over 20 feet and flood entire cities. Here's something you might not know. Hurricanes and typhoons spin in different directions depending on where they are. In the northern hemisphere, these storms spin counterclockwise, while in the southern hemisphere, they spin clockwise. This is due to something called the Coriolis effect, which is caused by the Earth's rotation. That means the same storm would appear to spin in opposite directions depending on which side of the equator you're standing on. Unfortunately, as global temperatures rise and oceans warm, the intensity and frequency of these storms are expected to increase. Climate change isn't just making the oceans warmer, it's supercharging tropical cyclones. Stronger storms, higher storm surges, and more intense rainfall are already becoming the new normal in regions that are vulnerable to hurricanes and typhoons. Scientists predict that while the total number of storms might not rise dramatically, the proportion of storms that reach Category 4 or 5, meaning the most dangerous, will increase significantly. This means more storms like Typhoon Haiyan, Hurricane Maria, and Cyclone Idai in the future. So, while hurricanes and typhoons may have different names, they're really just two sides of the same coin. Both are tropical cyclones, fueled by warm ocean waters and capable of immense destruction. Whether they're spinning through the Atlantic, Pacific, or Indian Oceans, these storms remind us of nature's raw power, and why it's so important to stay prepared. If you found this video informative, don't forget to hit that subscribe button like the video and tap the notification bell for more deep dives into the science behind nature's greatest phenomena. And remember, no matter what you call it, preparation is key when it comes to surviving these powerful storms. Stay safe out there!